Over the centuries, we have reduced one of the soul's noblest virtues to a simple transaction. When the word charity is mentioned, most people immediately picture a coin placed into the hand of someone in need, a bank transfer sent to a charitable organization, or a basket of food delivered to a struggling family. All of these things have value. Physical hunger is real, and those who suffer cannot wait for speeches while they are in need of bread. But limiting charity to what can be counted, weighed, or stored is seeing only the surface of a much deeper truth. It is like gazing upon the vastness of the ocean and believing it consists only of the foam dancing upon the waves, while ignoring the mysteries that rest within its silent depths. Material charity has the power to relieve immediate suffering. It feeds, protects, and rescues. Yet there is a dimension of human pain that no financial resource can reach. It is possible to give large sums without ever giving yourself. It is possible to write generous checks while keeping your heart far removed from the reality of those who suffer. Money can buy the bread that satisfies the hunger of the body, but it cannot feed the hunger for meaning that dwells within the soul. It can purchase comfort, but it cannot dissolve loneliness. It can address urgent needs, yet it remains powerless against rejection, abandonment, and the emptiness that so many people carry in silence. There is a deeper form of charity. A form of charity that demands more than resources. A form of charity that cannot be measured by numbers, recorded in reports, or displayed as a trophy before others. It is the charity that offers presence instead of distance. That gives time instead of leftovers. That shares attention instead of convenience. That gives not only what is held in the hands, but what resides within the heart. To understand the true nature of charity, we must look beyond appearances and abandon the superficial definitions we have inherited over time. We are standing before a virtue that surpasses the value of gold, transforms the way we understand salvation itself, and reveals one of the deepest secrets of the spiritual life. A virtue capable of opening doors that no wealth in this world could ever unlock. To understand the true dimension of charity in the eyes of God, we must return to a seemingly simple scene recorded in chapter 12 of the Gospel of Mark. Around the sacred treasury, a crowd moves constantly in and out. The sound of conversation blends with the metallic clatter of offerings being dropped into the collection chests. Wealthy and influential men approach with confidence, depositing large sums. Their coins echo against the metal like a public display of prosperity, drawing attention and admiration. To many who were present, this appeared to be the highest expression of generosity. But the eyes of Jesus do not rest where everyone else is looking. While the crowd is impressed by abundance, the Master notices someone almost no one else sees. A poor widow, without status, without wealth, without any appearance of importance. She quietly approaches and drops in only 2 small copper coins, an amount so insignificant that it would barely attract the attention of an ordinary observer. By human standards, it was almost worthless. But the kingdom of God measures things differently. Calling his disciples closer, Christ makes one of the most astonishing statements in the entire gospel. He declares that this woman has given more than all the others combined. At first glance, the statement seems to defy logic. How could someone who gave so little have given more than those who offered fortunes? The answer lies in what human eyes rarely see. The rich were contributing out of their abundance. Their lives would remain exactly the same after their offering. Their comforts would remain untouched. Their security had never been threatened. The widow, however, placed everything she had upon the altar. She did not merely give coins. She gave her peace of mind. She gave her security. She gave her certainty about tomorrow. In the hands of that woman, 2 small coins carried the weight of complete trust in God. That is why this passage has echoed through the centuries with such power. It teaches us that the value of an act of love is never determined by the size of what is offered, but by the depth of the sacrifice that accompanies it. In the kingdom of heaven, the greatness of an offering is not measured by how much leaves the hands, but by how much ego leaves the heart. It was the selflessness of that widow that transformed a handful of copper into an eternal treasure. And it is that same selflessness that continues to turn seemingly small acts into riches that time itself can never consume. Modern science has increasingly turned its attention toward a reality that the great spiritual traditions sensed centuries ago. The absence of affection leaves deep marks not only on the soul, but also on the body. Neuroscientific research shows that the pain of social rejection, exclusion, and abandonment activates many of the same brain regions involved in processing physical pain. In other words, the brain responds to emotional wounds with a seriousness remarkably similar to the way it responds to bodily injury. Being ignored, rejected, or treated as invisible is not merely a symbolic experience. It is a genuine form of human suffering. Perhaps the greatest poverty of the modern world is not a lack of resources, but a lack of presence. We live in an age of instant connections and constant communication. Never has it been easier to reach someone with a message. Never has it been simpler to stay connected to hundreds or even thousands of people through a screen. And yet, paradoxically, loneliness has never been more widespread. We are surrounded by contacts, yet starved for connection. Connected through networks, yet often distant in heart. The persistent feeling of not being seen, not being heard, or not mattering to anyone produces consequences that extend far beyond the emotional realm. Prolonged isolation has been linked to elevated stress hormones, weakened immune function, and significant impacts on both physical and mental health. Human beings were not created to flourish in abandonment. There is something within our very nature that longs for connection, acceptance, and belonging. It is within this context that charity reveals an even deeper dimension. It ceases to be merely an act of assistance and becomes an act of healing. When someone pauses the rush of their day to listen without hurry, when they offer attention without distraction, when they meet the eyes of someone who is suffering and embrace their pain without judgment, something extraordinary happens. The walls of loneliness begin to crumble. Burdens become lighter. And hope, almost imperceptibly, begins to reclaim the space that despair had occupied. There is a form of charity that requires no money, no wealth, and no public recognition. It is the charity of presence. The charity of listening. The charity of making another person feel that their existence matters. In a world where so many souls silently suffer the pain of feeling invisible, a sincere conversation can become a lifeline thrown to someone who is drowning. A compassionate ear can reach places that no amount of money could ever touch. There are moments when the most powerful act of love is not offering something to another person, but offering yourself for a few moments. Sometimes, all a soul needs to keep moving forward is the certainty that it is not alone. In contrast to the radiant beauty of charity, selfishness reveals itself as one of the quietest architectures of human ruin. The selfish person lives under the spell of a dangerous illusion, the belief that happiness can be built through accumulation. Accumulating possessions. Accumulating security. Accumulating control. Accumulating safeguards against pain. Convinced that self-sufficiency is the highest form of freedom, they begin to build, brick by brick, a structure designed to protect them from everything they perceive as a threat. But what appears to be a fortress from the outside reveals a different nature when viewed from within. It is not a fortress. It is a prison. Selfishness slowly narrows the horizons of the soul. Little by little, all of life begins to revolve around the preservation of self-interest. The world ceases to be a place of connection and becomes a territory of defense. People stop being fellow travelers and are valued only for what they can offer or represent. There is a silent spiritual decay hidden within the habit of holding on. A soul that refuses to share eventually closes in on itself. And anything that remains closed for too long risks losing the life it once possessed. The heart becomes less sensitive. Compassion grows weaker. The ability to rejoice in another person's good fortune begins to fade. Without realizing it, a person comes to inhabit an ever-shrinking universe, confined by the boundaries of their own ego. Those who live exclusively for themselves eventually consume their own existence. They feed upon their fears. they become trapped by their worries. They stand guard over treasures that will never be enough to produce the peace they seek. The fear of loss takes the place of gratitude. The obsession with control replaces trust. And the pursuit of security becomes, ironically, a constant source of anxiety. In trying to protect their life, they lose touch with the very things that make life worth living. The walls built to keep pain out end up keeping love out as well. The isolation that promised protection produces loneliness. The control that promised peace produces restlessness. And what was meant to create freedom becomes a form of captivity. At the end of the journey, when illusions fall away and everything temporary reveals its fragility, the possessions so carefully accumulated and the pride so fiercely preserved reveal their true nature. They become nothing more than remnants of something that time inevitably carried away. Ashes adorned by vanity. Then comes the most painful of discoveries. The person who spent a lifetime trying to avoid suffering realizes that they also avoided the most transformative experience of human existence: love. And they come to understand too late that the value of a life was never determined by what was possessed, but by what was given. Not by what was kept, but by what was shared. Not by the amount of wealth accumulated, but by the depth with which one learned to love. This decline of the soul is not merely a theological concept or a spiritual warning. It finds a striking reflection within human biology itself. Modern science has increasingly revealed that chronic selfishness and excessive self-focus come at a significant cost to both the body and the mind. Research conducted by psychologists and neuroscientists suggests that people who become consumed by their own interests often remain trapped in a heightened state of emotional vigilance, with greater activation of the brain circuits associated with fear, stress, and perceived threats. When this condition persists, the body begins to live beneath a silent storm of cortisol and adrenaline. Blood pressure rises, the cardiovascular system endures continuous strain, and the aging process accelerates at the cellular level. What many believe to be a strategy for self-preservation gradually becomes a mechanism of self-destruction. From a scientific perspective, selfishness does not merely impoverish the soul, it can also erode the body. True charity, however, produces the opposite effect. When we engage in a genuine act of generosity, the brain activates its reward pathways, releasing a powerful cascade of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. It is as though the entire organism recognizes that it is functioning according to its deepest design. Scientists often refer to this phenomenon as the helper's high, a state capable of reducing pain perception, strengthening immune defenses, lowering inflammation, and contributing to a longer, healthier life. Perhaps this is one of the most fascinating points where spiritual truth and biological reality converge. Human beings appear to have been designed to flourish through love. We were made to share, to serve, and to build bridges between one another. And when we attempt to imprison for ourselves what was meant to flow outward, something within us slowly begins to wither. The body suffers. The mind grows weary. The soul loses its radiance. Because life finds its fullest expression not in what we accumulate, but in what we allow to pass through us. During the darkest years of World War II, in a prisoner camp hidden deep within the heart of Europe, hunger, cold, and despair were constant companions. Men were stripped of their names and reduced to numbers. Their dignity was taken from them, and they were driven into exhausting labor until their bodies could give no more. With each passing day, hope seemed to become scarcer than food itself. It was in this landscape of near-total dehumanization that a prisoner named Victor began performing a seemingly insignificant act. Among the rubble scattered across the camp yard, he found a small piece of white chalk. Most men would have used it to count the days until freedom or to write their own name as a final attempt to preserve their identity. But Victor chose a different purpose. Each night, after the guards had withdrawn and a heavy silence settled over the barracks, he quietly moved from bunk to bunk. Above the heads of men weakened by hunger, illness, and despair, he would draw a simple image of an open window. In other places, he wrote only a single word: tomorrow. nothing more. When those prisoners opened their eyes on the freezing mornings of winter, the first thing they saw was that symbolic window or that solitary promise. A reminder that their story was not over. A quiet assurance that something existed beyond the walls, beyond the guard dogs, beyond the barbed wire fences that seemed to separate the world of the living from the world of the forgotten. The accounts of survivors tell of a barracks that became remarkably resilient. Not because it received more food. Not because its conditions were better, but because one man had chosen to nourish the very thing the camp tried to destroy every day: hope. Victor had no bread to share, no medicine to ease a fever. He could not open the gates or shorten anyone's suffering. Yet he practiced a rare and profound form of charity, the charity of human dignity. Night after night, he reminded those men that they were still human beings. And sometimes, that is enough to save a life. His piece of chalk was worth less than a forgotten coin on the ground. Yet that simple gesture restored something infinitely more valuable to dozens of souls: the desire to keep going. This story reminds us of a truth the world often forgets. The highest form of charity is not always the kind that feeds the body. More often, it is the kind that prevents a soul from giving up. It is the smile offered to an exhausted worker whom no one else notices. It is the patience shown to an elderly person telling the same story for the 10th time. It is the word of encouragement given to someone who no longer believes in themselves. It is the merciful silence we choose when we have the opportunity to humiliate someone who has made a mistake. Because there are people starving for hope. And for them, a single act of humanity can be worth more than gold. If we truly wish to live the fullness of charity, we must understand that it extends far beyond visible acts of generosity. There is a form of love that cannot be deposited into a bank account, recorded on a receipt, or displayed for public admiration. It reveals itself quietly in the choices we make each day, and it rests upon three fundamental pillars of human relationships. The first is the charity of time. Of all the treasures we possess, time is the only one we can never recover. Lost money can be earned again. Material possessions can be replaced. But every moment given to another person disappears forever from our own story. That is why offering our time is one of the purest expressions of love. When we listen without rushing, when we remain beside someone who is suffering, when we walk alongside another person through their darkest days, we are giving something far more valuable than any material gift. We are offering a portion of our own irreplaceable existence. The second pillar is the charity of forgiveness. We live in a culture that encourages us to keep records of every offense, catalog every disappointment, and carry every wound as though it were a badge of honor. We cling to resentment believing it protects us, when in reality it only imprisons us. Forgiveness does not mean pretending nothing happened, nor does it require us to erase the memory of what was done. It means something far deeper. It means releasing another person from the emotional debt they owe us. It is the decision not to turn yesterday's mistake into a weapon for today. It is the act of clearing the table of accusations, dismantling the courtroom within our hearts, and allowing a relationship the possibility of a new beginning. Forgiveness is one of the most demanding forms of charity because it requires us to surrender what the ego treasures most, the right to collect its debt. The third pillar is the charity of charitable judgment. Few things cause more human suffering than our tendency to assume the worst about one another. A poorly chosen word, an unexpected absence, a sharp response spoken in a difficult moment. And immediately, the mind begins constructing stories. We judge without knowing the hidden battles. We condemn without seeing the invisible wounds. We turn suspicions into verdicts. Charity calls us to do the opposite. It teaches us to suspend judgment, to give others the benefit of the doubt, to recognize that there are burdens we cannot see, struggles we cannot understand, and tears that have never reached our eyes. When we choose not to label the friend who pulled away, not to condemn the person who spoke harshly, or not to assume malice from someone who disappointed us, we are practicing a quiet yet powerful form of love. a form of charity that almost no one notices, yet one that carries immeasurable value in the eyes of heaven. Because in that moment, we are protecting the dignity of another soul within the sanctuary of our own heart. It is this complete, living, and transformative charity that touches the very mystery of human salvation. In chapter 25 of the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus leads us into one of the most breathtaking scenes in all of Scripture. For a brief moment, the veil separating time from eternity seems to be pulled back, and we are invited to witness the final judgment of humanity. What makes this passage so powerful is not merely its solemnity, but the way it dismantles many of our assumptions about spiritual merit. Christ does not say that the separation between the sheep and the goats will be determined by the amount of religious knowledge a person has accumulated. He does not mention titles, positions, spiritual prestige, or the eloquence of public prayers. He says nothing about who was most admired, most respected, or most celebrated among men. Instead, the King of the universe presents a standard that is astonishingly simple, a standard measured through the ordinary acts of everyday life. I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then something extraordinary happens. The righteous look upon the Lord with genuine surprise and ask, "When did we see you hungry and feed you? When did we see you thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you as a stranger, sick, or imprisoned? When did we ever have the opportunity to do these things for you?" And it is at that moment that Christ speaks one of the most profound statements in all of Christian revelation. "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." The depth of that declaration is almost impossible to fully grasp. Jesus does not say that he was merely watching the needy from a distance. He does not say that he was observing the suffering of the poor, the sick, or the forgotten. He goes much further. He identifies himself with them. Christ hides himself within human weakness. He is concealed behind the weary eyes of the suffering. He dwells in the loneliness of the forgotten, the pain of the rejected, and the vulnerability of those who can no longer carry their burdens alone. The face we encounter in someone in need is not merely the face of another human being. In a mysterious and sacred way, it is the face of the Lord himself. That is why the salvation presented by Jesus is not an escape from reality. It is not a spirituality that looks only toward heaven while ignoring the suffering of earth. It is not a private pursuit of mystical experiences detached from human pain. True faith lifts its eyes toward God, but it never fails to see the person standing beside it. Because every time compassion becomes action, heaven touches earth. And every time one hand reaches out to help another, a silent encounter with Christ takes place. In the end, we may discover that the road to eternity was built through countless small acts that seemed insignificant at the time. Not through the words we spoke about love, but through the love we actually gave. Not through what we claimed to believe, but through what we chose to do when confronted with the suffering of another. For the passport to the kingdom is not authenticated by declarations of worship. It is sealed by acts of charity. There is a quiet illusion hidden in the way we measure a successful life. We tend to believe that we will be remembered for the monuments we build, the titles we earn, or the security we create around our own name. Yet history and time share an unavoidable habit. They erase almost everything. Honors fade into dust. Achievements lose their significance. Even the most celebrated names eventually give way to new ones. And yet, something remains. Something that survives the centuries without relying on statues, plaques, or official records. It is the charity we quietly plant within the hearts of others. That is the inheritance time cannot take away. To be charitable is not to perform an occasional act of kindness. It is a way of moving through the world. It is the recognition that the gifts we possess, the affection we carry, and the attention we are able to give were never meant to belong exclusively to us. We are merely temporary stewards of blessings that were designed to flow outward. Every act of compassion becomes a seed planted in a field whose full harvest we may never see. When we lift someone who has fallen, when we honor another person's pain without judgment, or when we choose merciful silence instead of harsh criticism, we are accomplishing something far greater than we realize. We are writing our true story in a place where rust cannot reach, where memory does not fade, and where death holds no authority. The clothes we donate will eventually wear out. The money we give will pass from hand to hand. The time we offer will slip into the past. Even the most beautiful words will one day be forgotten. But the experience of being loved, welcomed, understood, or seen remains alive within a person. It continues to multiply through future actions, future choices, and future lives we may never know. A single act of charity can travel across generations like an invisible wave, touching destinies far beyond the horizon of our sight. To become more charitable is, in many ways, to awaken to a simple but transformative truth. Life is far too precious to be spent entirely on things that end at the grave. It is the decision to live in such a way that your presence becomes a shelter for someone else. To leave behind more than memories, to leave behind relief. More than accomplishments, to leave behind hope. More than a story of success, to leave behind a story of love. And when everything else has faded away, that may be the one thing still standing. The soul that extends mercy inevitably becomes a recipient of mercy itself. This is more than a religious promise, it is one of the deepest laws of the spiritual life. Among all virtues, charity possesses a unique quality. It is the only seed whose harvest accompanies the sower beyond the boundaries of time. Whenever we close in on ourselves, trying to hold tightly to what we have received, whether it be resources, affection, attention, or opportunity, something within us begins to shrink. The heart grows harder. Our vision becomes narrower. Life slowly starts revolving around the protection of our own interests. Little by little, we cease living in communion and begin living in defense. Charity moves in the opposite direction. It breaks down the walls built by the ego and restores breadth to the soul. It reminds us that we were not created merely to possess, but to participate in something greater than ourselves. When we allow the blessings we have received to reach other lives, we experience a renewal that no material achievement can provide. The more we share what is best within us, the more we discover that the source does not run dry. Perhaps that is why salvation cannot be understood solely as a future event waiting beyond the end of life. It begins taking shape in the choices we make each day, in the quiet battles fought within the heart, in those moments when compassion triumphs over indifference and love overcomes the instinct of self-preservation. Every act of welcome is a small victory over selfishness. Every act of forgiveness weakens the chains of resentment. Every word of comfort offered to someone in pain brings the soul closer to the model of humanity revealed by Christ. Charity transforms us long before it transforms the world around us. It frees us from the prison of individualism, dissolves the illusion of self-sufficiency, and reconnects us with the deepest truth of our nature. In reaching out to help another person, we discover that we are not merely instruments of compassion. We are also the first beneficiaries of its power. And perhaps this is one of the great paradoxes of the spiritual life. The more we give away, the more whole we become. As we come to the end of this reflection, it is worth asking ourselves one final question. What are we truly carrying in our hands? Throughout life, we accumulate possessions, achievements, worries, and ambitions. Yet when time has completed its course, only one thing will remain: what we chose to plant in the hearts of those whose paths crossed our own. May the glitter of temporary wealth never distract us from the treasures that time cannot corrupt and eternity cannot erase. May charity cease to be merely a virtue we admire from a distance and become the daily language of our soul. May it be present in our words, our choices, our quiet acts of kindness, and even in the sacrifices that no one else will ever see. May our lives become a silent testimony that love remains the greatest force ever placed into human hands. And so that this truth may become more than a passing inspiration, that it may descend into the deepest part of our hearts and take root in the way we live, let us turn our minds and spirits toward the one who is the source of all love, all mercy, and all charity. Let us join our voices in the prayer that has echoed across the centuries, comforted the brokenhearted, strengthened the weary, and drawn countless souls closer to the heart of the Father. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. May your hands become instruments of mercy. May your eyes learn to see those whom the world has forgotten. May your words bring comfort where there is pain, hope where there is discouragement, and light where darkness seems to have settled. As this time together comes to an end, do not allow this reflection to remain merely a pleasant thought. Carry it into your next conversation, your next decision, and your next opportunity to love someone in a tangible way. Perhaps there is someone waiting for a word of encouragement that only you can offer. Perhaps there is a wound that only your compassion can help heal. Perhaps the answer to someone's prayer is hidden within an act of charity that you have not yet chosen to give. If this message touched your heart, share it so that it may reach other lives. And write the word charity in the comments below. Let it be a simple declaration of your desire to live this virtue not only in thought, but in action. Thank you for your company until now. May the peace of Christ accompany your steps. May the grace of the Father strengthen your heart, and may the Holy Spirit guide you along the paths of love. Until we meet again.